Volkswagen's Arteon Shooting Brake offers a sleek yet still very practical alternative to style-conscious compact executive segment models like Audi's A5 Sportback and BMW's 4 Series Gran Coupe. It's a high-class stylised estate that doesn't need a ridiculously expensive boot lid badge to stand out, and a very desirable one indeed. The Shooting Brake. It's a kind of upper-class, stylised sports estate coupe, first popularised by three-door models in the 70s, like the Volvo P1800ES and the Jaguar XJS-based Lynx Eventer, a concept then resurrected in 2015 by Mercedes with the CLS Shooting Brake and the subsequent CLA Shooting Brake models. Now we have this car, the Volkswagen Arteon Shooting Brake. Like its predecessors, it sets out to combine the visual elegance of a coupe with the practicality of an estate. If you happen to be familiar with the Volkswagen Arteon at all, it'll be as a Fastback, the 5-door Gran Turismo-like body style that continues to be sold. The Shooting Brake model aims to broaden the Arteon's appeal, and that needs doing because it hasn't sold in very large numbers since its arrival in 2017. The Shooting Brake joins the range as the lineup was facelifted in mid-2020, and as with the Fastback stablemate, it can be had in conventional guise, as an EV eHybrid plug-in, or as a sporting Arteon R model. In many ways, the whole Gran Turismo concept rather suits this Arteon Shooting Brake. GT motoring is supposed to be about high-speed touring rather than out-and-out sports car driving dynamics, and if you judge this Volkswagen purely on that criteria, you're likely to be quite satisfied with it. Refinement is excellent, as is ride quality, thanks to a specially developed independent 4-link rear suspension setup that can be embellished with the sophisticated DCC, Dynamic Chassis Control Adaptive Damping System, that we've been trying here. The DCC is optional on the mainstream models, but it comes as standard if you go for one of the top 4-motion 4-wheel drive variants, which also get an XDS electronic differential lock to help you get the power down at speed through tight turns. You won't really want to go throwing this Volkswagen about, though it really isn't that kind of car. But what it lacks when it comes to driving on its door handles, it more than makes up for with exemplary transcontinental style cruising ability. That sort of thing is helped by this car's standard travel assist system, which allows level 2 partially autonomous driving at speeds of up to 130 miles an hour, and the adaptive cruise control system's predictive, meaning that it can anticipate and adapt to road conditions before you reach them. All of which clues you up for what you're really in for here. It's a driving experience that in every way is prioritised towards laid-back comfort, exactly as a typical Arteon user would want it to be. Engine-wise, the Shooting Brake model's core power plant is Volkswagen's latest Evo Series 2-litre TDI 150 PS diesel. That's a unit offered with a choice of either 6-speed manual or 7-speed DSG automatic transmission. If you want a variant that'll be even more efficient, then you'll have to opt for the eHybrid petrol plug-in variant, which gets a large 13 kilowatt-hour battery, and that enables a WLTP-rated driving range of up to 33 miles. As for the other more conventional engines, well, the range kicks off with the VW Group's usual 1.5-litre TSI 150 PS petrol unit, but that can't be had with the DSG Auto gearbox that most Arteon folk will want. That means that you're just as likely to be looking at the two mid-range powertrain options. They only come in auto form, either the 2-litre TSI 190 PS petrol unit we're trying here, or the uprated 200 PS version of that 2-litre TDI diesel, which incidentally is the only mainstream engine in the range that can be ordered with the option of Volkswagen's 4-motion 4-wheel drive system. That's now improved with selective wheel torque control. That 4-motion setup also features on the fire-breathing Arteon Shooting Brake R performance flagship model, which uses the 2-litre TSI petrol engine in an uprated 320 PS state of tune. The The idea here, says Marco Pavone, head of Volkswagen exterior design, was from this functional 5-door design to create the impression of a sports car. So the stylists significantly pulled in the roof section and with it the side glass panels toward the rear, while at the same time widening the wheel housings to give this shooting brake design a more powerful shoulder section. In terms of pavement presence, it's all quite effective. This stylised estate model does of course share the visual updates made to the Fastback variant, which include a restyled grille and revised LED headlights. The bumper and corner air intake styling depends a bit on the trim level you've chosen. This sporty R-line spec variant features these unique C signature gloss black front air intakes. It's all very Jag meets BMW here, with deep contours running up the expansive sports car-like clamshell style bonnet and a hefty dose of serious overtaking presence thrown in for good measure. And in profile, well, in shooting brake form, this Arteon body style is completely unique from the B-pillars backwards, although the width and length dimensions remain the same as those of the Fastback hatch. The roof height is a little different though. This estate version sits 19mm taller with a flatter, longer roof line, which creates this variant's unique rear end with its tapering glass house and prominent D-pillars. As usual with Gran Turismo style designs, the wheel rims are intentionally large. Now you can swap out this model's 19-inch rims for even bigger 20 inches if you want to. Go for the DCC dynamic chassis control adaptive damping option we have fitted here, and the suspension will come lowered by 20mm. At the back you get this angled tailgate with a neat subtle roof spoiler and a GPD antenna just beyond. This latest version, the Volkswagen badge, is flanked by narrow LED light clusters that will feature this darkened tinting if you avoid entry-level trim. As usual though, what's more important is the stuff you can't see, in this case Volkswagen's stiff and sophisticated MQB platform, which is also used by the brand with some of its larger models. Let's take a seat in the front. At the wheel you'll find premium build quality that's easily the equal of anything you'll get in a rival Audi or BMW. But if you are used to those brands, you might not especially like the way that these superbly supportive ergo comfort seats position you a little higher in front of the 3-spoke leather-stitched wheel. Still, that is useful for maximising rear 3/4 vision, and that is better than it usually is on Gran Turismo style models of this type, and that's despite the narrow rear window and the thick, steeply angled rear pillars. It certainly all feels much classier than the kind of sportily trimmed Passat estate that many customers for this model might previously have been considering. And here you get, as standard, Volkswagen's customizable active info display, a 12.3-inch TFT screen with an almost infinitely customizable layout of crystal clear virtual graphics. Anything that the instrument binnacle can't tell you will almost certainly be covered on or duplicated by this 8-inch Center Dash Discover infotainment monitor. A Discover Pro 9.2-inch screen size upgrade is available on request, and you might also want to take advantage of the head-up display that's been fitted here too. As for cabin storage, well, there's most of what you'd expect, like this small lidded compartment at the bottom of the centre stack, which is evidently intended for your phone because it incorporates the USB-C point and provision for a wireless charging mat. There is another USB-C point in this deep lidded box between the seats, along with an aux-in port too. And just ahead of that is a coin tray next to a couple of cup holders, which are covered by this smart concertina ring top. There's no overhead compartment for your sunglasses, but the door pockets are of a reasonable size, the glove box is large, and there's a useful extra compartment by the driver's knee. Right, let's take a seat in the rear. Now this slightly higher roofline makes it a bit easier to get in. And once inside, there's 48mm more headroom than you'll get in the Fastback 5-door hatch version of this model. Plus, on plusher variants like this one, you get a much larger panoramic glass roof too. There's 1016mm of legroom, and the detail stuff's well taken care of. Take this neat flap that rises to reveal not only 12 volt and USB-C sockets, but also a 230 volt port as well. There are individual reading lights, there are coat hooks on the B-pillars and in the grab handles. There are surprisingly large door pockets, Isofix outer child seat points, a central armrest with twin cup holders and lovely touches like this recessed blue strip lighting in the doors. Finally, let's check out the boot. Now, you only get this powered tailgate if you avoid entry-level trim, and once it's risen, you're faced with a large 565 litre space in this Shooting Brake model, which, a touch disappointingly, is a scant 2 litres more than is offered by the trunk of the 5-door Fastback hatch. Blame that swept-back roofline. Still, apparently up to 8 carry-on suitcases will still fit in just fine, although not if you've specified the eHybrid version, in which case carriage capacity falls by 110 litres because of the battery pack beneath the floor. Here we don't have that beneath the cargo area base. This is an area which, if you go for the audio upgrade, will mostly be taken up by the subwoofer for the optional Harman Kardon audio system. As you can see, we don't have any kind of spare wheel here, although in this case that's not quite so much of an issue because all of the tyres are of the self-sealing air stop variety, which will allow you to limp to the nearest garage in the event of a puncture without ruining the rubber carcass. No 12 volt sockets provided here, but you do get a couple of pull-out bag hooks, plus a large section on the right with a lift-out panel and a recessed area on the left and 4 tie-down points. There will be a switch for the deployable tow bar too, if you specified that. Need more room? Well, there's a hatch in the rear bench which will allow you to push through longer items like skis into the cabin. If that's not enough, then if you fold the rear seats in the conventionally engined models, you'll free up as much as 1,632 litres of space. That's 75 litres more than you get in the Fastback hatch. There's a premium of around £800 to choose this Shooting Brake body style rather than the alternative Fastback hatch, and across the range there are 3 trim levels. Now, virtually all Shooting Brake models will be sold either with base elegance trim or, as in this case, with sportier looking R-line specification. Beyond that, there is a top of the range high performance R variant. Shooting Brake prices start at around £33,000 and they run up to around £45,000, although of course you'll need significantly more than that for the Arteon Shooting Brake R flagship model. As for competitors for this stylised Volkswagen estate, well, it's really difficult to think of a direct one. The Mercedes CLS Shooting Brake, that would have been the obvious car to put up against this Arteon, but that's no longer made. The Mercedes CLA Shooting Brake, which does still continue, that's a size smaller than this car, although it does cost a similar amount. Otherwise, you're looking at sportier versions of premium mid-sized estates, say an AMG line trimmed Mercedes C-Class estate, an M-Sport trimmed BMW 3 Series Touring, or an S-line trimmed Audi A4 Avant, or perhaps a sportily trimmed mid-sized SUV. But none of those options I just mentioned would get you a car with quite the pavement presence that's delivered up here by this Volkswagen. It really is quite unique. If you're convinced by that, then you'll need to get some idea as to exactly how generous Volkswagen has been with the standard spec here. Now, the Shooting Brake range does without the entry-level SE nav trim grade that you can have on the Arteon Fastback hatch. So things kick off here with mid-range elegance trim. Elegance trimmed models are marked out by their 18-inch Almere alloy wheels, and they feature keyless entry across both body styles, a rear view camera too, and travel assist. That's Volkswagen's adaptive cruise control and lane keeping system. On the inside, the Arteon Elegance benefits from luxuries like a leather-wrapped capacitive steering wheel that has touch controls, heated seats and voice control, while drivers can also choose between driving profiles for the customizable driving experience. The sportier looking Arteon R line offers distinctive 19-inch Montevideo alloys with dual trapezoidal exhaust tips on each side of the bumper. They're moulded into a standard R line body kit, and that has a more assertive sporting appearance. Panoramic sunroof, that's standard on all R line models, along with rear tinted glass and interior ambient lighting with 30 colour options. Across the entire range, all Arteon Shooting Brake models feature full LED headlights, ACC, adaptive cruise control, 3-zone climate control, and the brand's digital cockpit with its customisable active info display instrument binnacle screen. You'll also get a very complete media package too, and that includes the brand's wireless app Connect setup and Volkswagen's WeConnect Plus package. Now that adds live data services to the standard 8-inch Discover navigation system. The top high-performance R-Spec 4Motion model, of course, gets its own bespoke spec. It sits 20mm lower than the normal car on standard fit adaptive dampers and 20-inch alloy wheels, behind which you'll find hefty R-Spec brakes with blue painted calipers. Plus, the driving mode system gets an extra setting, Race, and that's activated by a little blue button on the steering wheel. On to options. There are a few key items you'll want to consider, many of which have been fitted here. We'd recommend you look at the optional DCC, Dynamic Chassis Control Adaptive Damping System, and maybe also the area view rear view camera with its corner view and trailer view features. A head-up display, a full leather upholstery upgrade, a front climate heated windscreen, the acoustic pack and rear seat heating, they'd all be nice to have, as would the optional 14-way adjustable driver's ergo comfort seat, which comes with a massaging function and memory settings. Oh, and you might want to fit a tow bar too. Okay, enough about that. What about standard driver assist systems and safety provision across the Arteon Shooting Brake range? Well, the standard inclusion of adaptive cruise control and lane assist adaptive lane guidance enables Volkswagen to offer its travel assist system, which, as I mentioned earlier, is standard above entry-level trim and enables so-called level 2 autonomous driving at high speeds. Travel assist can completely control the car for you at speeds of up to 130 miles an hour, provided you keep your hands firmly on the capacitive steering wheel. A nice feature built into the standard ACC adaptive cruise control system is predictive cruise control, which uses images from the windscreen camera along with navigation data to adjust the car's speed ahead of bends and speed restrictions. Plus, of course, ACC can do all the usual things too, adapt to your speed to the vehicles ahead, and in the event of a tailback, it'll bring the car to a controlled stop and start it off again without driver input. If your Arteon Shooting Brake has DSG automatic transmission, it'll also come with a clever emergency assist system that can take over driving duties completely if you become incapacitated. It'll steer the car to the side of the road and bring it to a safe and gradual stop. What else? Well, there's the lane assist feature we mentioned earlier, which uses subtle steering correction to keep you in lane on the highway and incorporates road edge recognition, and that detects curbs, grass verges and lane markings. And the full LED headlights include high beam assist, which automatically dips them at night. You would expect some sort of autonomous braking system on a car of this kind these days. Volkswagen's is called front assist. And as usual with these kinds of setups, it scans the road ahead as you drive. If a potential collision hazard is detected, then you'll be warned. Now, if you don't respond, or perhaps you aren't able to, then the brakes will automatically be applied to decrease the severity of any resulting accident. For this current Arteon model, the city emergency braking system has been enhanced with pedestrian monitoring. Now that's more specifically able to identify people or cyclists who might be just about to inadvertently step into your path. Should that kind of situation happen, or if, for example, another driver suddenly brakes in front of you, then further help is provided by the emergency steering assist system, and that's automatically activated as soon as you have to avoid an obstacle. After visual and acoustic warnings, this will introduce targeted braking intervention from the assistance system, which will help to stabilise the car if you have to perform an evasive manoeuvre. All shooting brake models also include Volkswagen's side assist with rear traffic alert package. That incorporates two features: a blind spot monitor that warns you if you're just about to pull out when there's a vehicle in your blind spot, and a rear traffic alert feature that will warn you of oncoming traffic when you're reversing out of a space. It's all very reassuring. As you'd expect, the Arteon Shooting Brake is extremely class competitive in terms of WLTP running costs. When it's paired with the DSG 7-speed automatic gearbox that most customers want, the core 2-litre TDI 150 PS diesel is capable up to 55.4 mpg on the combined cycle and up to 130 grams of WLTP rated CO2. Which isn't bad for a 148 miles an hour large luxury sports estate. To beat the 2-litre Evo diesel's frugality in this Volkswagen, you'll have to opt for something quite different, the clever eHybrid petrol plug-in version. Now, if you viewed other sections of this film, then you'll know that this mates a 1.4-litre TSI petrol engine with a 115 PS electric motor that's powered by a large 13 kilowatt-hour battery, which, when it's fully charged, can now provide up to 33 miles of all-electric WLTP-rated driving range. As a result, it's quite likely that with a typical commute, an Arteon Shooting Brake eHybrid owner would only need to actually visit a fuel station every month or two. Assuming you install the 3.6 kilowatt wall box charger in your garage, the battery can be replenished from empty in 3.5 hours. From an ordinary household 3-pin plug, the charging time figure rises to around 5 hours. The result of all this technology is a faintly ludicrous combined cycle fuel economy figure of up to 256.8 miles per gallon and a super clean CO2 output of up to 26 grams per kilometre. Those readings are based around an elegance spec shooting brake eHybrid being used in its most frugal hybrid driving mode. Of course, in the real world, an Arteon Shooting Brake eHybrid won't deliver readings anything like those, but of course, the important thing is that the government believes them, hence this variant's super affordable 10% benefit in kind positioning. A comparable 2-litre TDI 150 PS model is rated at 28%, and a low car tax band A rating, and that of course means significant company car tax savings. A slight downside with that PHEV variant lies with the fact that the battery's positioning under the rear seat makes necessary a reduction in fuel tank size from 66 to 50 litres. But even so, with a fully charged battery and a full tank of fuel, a range of over 620 miles ought to be possible. So, for example, you could travel from London to Paris and back without refuelling. But to do that, you'll have to use the various provided drive modes proactively, and you'll have to keep an eye on the various provided e-displays. There's an electric range monitor plus an interactive energy flow diagram, and that shows at any time what's being powered by what. Plus there's a zero emission screen which briefs you on the amount of fully electrified mileage that you've covered since the start of your journey. On the instrument binnacle, there's a left-hand dial that'll give you a green charge and blue % power sections to help you to drive more economically. The car will always start off in fully electrified E mode before it switches to a hybrid mode, and that sees the electric motor and the combustion engine combining together. As part of that setting, you have also a battery hold option which will save battery charge until later in the trip, and a battery charge setting in which the battery will be charged by the TSI engine as you drive. If you really can't quite justify the stretch to an Arteon eHybrid and you want to stick with petrol power, the version of this car that you might be considering is the base 1.5 litre TSI petrol, which only comes with manual transmission. Now, this unit hasn't been embellished with fashionable mild hybrid tech, but it does still feature active cylinder deactivation technology, which under light throttle loads cuts off the second and third cylinders for greater efficiency. As a result, an Arteon 1.5 litre TSI Shooting Brake can deliver up to 42.8 mpg and up to 147 grams per kilometre of CO2, and that's a very reasonable showing for a car of this size. Opt for any of the other engines on offer, all of which are mated to a DSG automatic gearbox, and your Arteon will cost significantly more to run. The 2-litre TDI 200 PS diesel manages up to 53.3 mpg and up to 139 grams per kilometre in front-driven guise, or up to 46.3 mpg and up to 161 grams per kilometre in 4Motion form. The alternative 2-litre TSI 190 PS petrol derivative that we're trying here manages up to 40.4 mpg and up to 160 grams per kilometre. What else? Well, insurance groups range between 21E and 27E. As for servicing, well, as usual with Volkswagen models, there's a choice of either fixed or flexible maintenance packages. You'll choose the fixed approach if you cover less than 10,000 miles a year, and with that, the car will typically be looked at every 12 months. If your daily commute is more than 25 miles and your Arteon Shooting Brake will regularly be driven on longer distance journeys, then you'll be able to work with the flexible regime, and that'll see you travelling up to 18,000 miles between garage visits, or every 2 years, whichever comes around first. And warranties, well, the standard package is 3 years and 60,000 miles, plus your car will come with 3 years of pan-European roadside assistance, and that has no mileage limit. The paintwork warranty lasts for 3 years, and as you'd expect, this model is also protected by a 12-year anti-corrosion package. We can quickly envisage a situation where most Arteon sales are of this shooting brake model. It's more distinctive, not only than its Fastback showroom stablemate, but also than most other stylised, mid-sized executive sector models that potential customers will be looking at around this price point. Most probably either the Audi A5 Sportback or the BMW 4 Series Gran Coupe, or perhaps estate versions of the BMW 3 Series, the Audi A4 or the Mercedes C-Class. We would rather have an Arteon Shooting Brake than any of those. It's more practical, it's better equipped for the money, and it's arguably better built. And most of all, people will take a second glance at it in a good way. No one you know will probably have this car in their shortlist in this segment, but add it anyway and make your driveway a more distinctive place.